Hello and welcome. My name is Wahid Tanner from Electronic Thinking, and in this video I want to share with you 8 secrets to mastering electronics. So listen to this short presentation to learn techniques that are going to help you to get more out of your education. If you approach this in the wrong way, you're going to likely give up and quit after just a few months or even weeks and have wasted your time. Time is one of the most precious commodities we have. You can't buy more of it, and you never know how much you have to begin with. So definitely don't waste your time with something. Follow these secrets and you'll have much greater chance of success. Now you're going to find that a lot of these secrets are also applicable to almost anything worthwhile that you're going to want to try to study or to learn. But I've tried to adapt these as much as I can to actually learning electrical engineering. So take notes if you like, but the really important point is to actually do what I'm suggesting. To begin with, make sure you're in a place where you can concentrate uninterrupted. Turn your phone off, get rid of any pop-up reminders, bring yourself into the moment, and focus on this. And if you really follow these 8 secrets, you're going to find that you're going to learn more, you're going to enjoy it more, you're going to feel better about your progress, and you're going to stay on track. So the first thing to do is to fully commit to learning electronics. So when you're studying, try not to get distracted with other things. If you find that your mind is wandering and you're daydreaming, then take a short break. Gently bring yourself back. And if this happens too often, then what you might want to do is start with shorter learning cycles and gradually train yourself to focus for longer periods. Try to bring yourself up to where you can eventually get to the point where you can study uninterrupted for at least an hour at a time. Now, don't be multitasking during this. So you're going to find that multitasking doesn't work well for learning technical content. So, don't be checking your email or, trying to talk on the phone or anything like that. Stay focused on the subject that you're learning. Actually set aside the time to learn. This is important because by getting on a schedule, you make it part of your environment and it makes it easier for you to learn. One really great advice is to attend coaching calls. So this is going to be an excellent time to learn from other people's questions and to directly ask your own. So get involved. If you don't have coaching calls, then there are discussion forums that you can join, but do something that you can get involved with a group. You can ask questions, you can give feedback. You can, just talk about something that you find interesting. But whatever you do, get involved. The next thing is to actually take action. So one of the things I suggest is that you get a small notebook that you can record your ideas. You might be out and about and you think of something that you wanted to learn about, you see something interesting, write it down. So not only is this going to help you to follow up with confusing or inspiring topics, but it's going to help to motivate you later. When you open up your notebook later, you're going to remember, oh yes, I need to follow up with these items. Bring that list of items to your coaching call or bring it to your discussion forums and start talking about them. When it actually comes time for you to do something with it, like building a circuit or building a prototype, don't guess at what's going to happen. Actually do it, build it, take the measurements, and get feedback. You're going to find that the greatest obstacle to learning is the belief that we already know something. I mean, this is really true. If you think about it, one reason why a lot of times we don't learn something is we think, oh, we already know it. And there might be something in there that is valuable that you don't know or that might surprise you. So do it, take the measurements, and get confirmation. And you're going to find that that is going to give you a feeling of progress, and it's going to help to keep you excited. The next secret is to realize that this does take time. So, because it takes time, one of the things that's really important is to be very clear about why you're learning electronics. So in a moment, I want you to pause this video, get a piece of paper, and actually think about your reason and write it down. Now when you do this, make sure that your reason is concrete and specific and very clear. So go ahead, push the pause button and do this now. Okay, you got that done? Good. All right, now what we're going to do next is we're going to set a series of goals, and we're going to start with the first one. And when you complete each goal, you can make a new one, but we're going to get the first one done first. So I want you to think about a realistic goal that you believe that you can get to. You may be that you'll finally understand calculus or something like that. This is going to be different for everybody depending on how much you already know. But like I said, after you complete each one, make a new one. So let's get your first one written now. So again, press the pause button and write that down. So do that now. Okay, got that done? Good. Now you're going to notice that as you develop new skills, that they're going to work together and they're going to build on each other. And this is going to become even more valuable the more you master. So get those goals and start building new skills, and you're going to really see an explosion in your ability. All right, so before you actually start any training session, what I want you to do is have that reason why you're learning electronics very nearby. And before you start anything, make it a point to quickly review your goal. So keep it nearby, look at it right before you start, and this is going to help you to learn better because you're going to have that reason in mind as new information is coming in. And this is going to actually help you to file away the material and keep it related back to electronics. Our mind is a great filtering mechanism, and when we tell our minds what it is that we're interested in or we're looking for, you're going to find that it's a lot easier as you're learning to accomplish those goals. So start focusing more on the outcome you want instead of the difficulties you might be having. So again, our mind is always looking for ways to solve our problems, and it's going to help us to achieve what we think about. So let your mind help you get what you want by thinking about those things. Don't feed your mind with the things that you don't really want. The next secret is to be clear about how you are measuring yourself. So one thing I want you to understand is that the true outcome of the time that you spend is being able to do something that you did not know how to do previously. So if you don't understand a topic, then take the time to get it right. Only you can determine when you're ready for more training. But don't measure yourself by how many hours you spend, but instead measure yourself by how many skills you've developed. So realize that there's going to be some topics that are more difficult, but with enough determination and effort, you can master them. Just keep the outcome in mind. Now, when you're building your own electronic circuits, it's very important to realize ahead of time that most of them are not going to work properly. And when you take this attitude, then you're going to be less likely to give up. The reason is that failure is just a made-up concept. It's a label. And there have been many, many famous people that have said that their greatest successes have come after a big failure. you can instantly eliminate failure by learning from it. There's a very famous story of Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, and he tried many, many thousands of materials to build the light bulb. And one day he was asked about this in an interview, and the person asked him why he did not give up after so many failures. And Thomas Edison replied that he did not fail, that he successfully found 2,000 ways not to make a light bulb. So keep that in mind when you're building your circuits. If you approach a circuit thinking, oh, this is it, this one's definitely going to work, and it doesn't work, a lot of times you can get discouraged. Just remember that a lot of them are not going to work. Keep determined and go at it, and eventually you'll get it. Now, if you've ever talked to a group of experts on almost any topic, one of the things that you're going to notice is it's almost like they speak a different language. So whenever you're learning something new and technical like electronics, pay attention to the terminology and start including those new words and phrases when you talk to others. You can begin by reading as much about electronics as possible. Read the electronic catalogs and especially the advertisements. I know we tend to overlook the advertisements when we're trying to read magazines, but look at the product features as they're being advertised and ask yourself why they're important. Because if you can understand the important bullet points in a product, you can start to develop the terminology better, you can start to see how things relate to each other, and you're going to find that you're going to pick up new words and vocabulary that's going to help you to make it easier to understand things in the future and to talk to others as well. The next secret is to focus on what you need to learn and don't worry about how many skills other people have. Now, learn from others, but don't get discouraged because somebody else seems to have more skills or to have an easier time. There's a very interesting psychological experiment called the ultimatum game that I'd like to share with you. And this involves two people in a room, and they're sitting at a table, and in front of them will be like 100 $1 bills. And one of the people will be given the task of dividing this money up between the two people, and the other person will have the opportunity to say, yes, we both get this money as you've divided it up, or none of us gets it. Now, what happens a lot of times is the person who's dividing the money will split it evenly, and the other person will say, sure, yeah, we both get it. And they both walk away, with like $50. Sometimes, though, the person who's dividing up the money will decide, well, maybe I'll give a little more to myself. And when it starts getting to around $70 or $80, and the other person is only getting, $20 to $30, there's a higher likelihood that the person who is charged with determining if they get it will say no. Now, if you think about this for a moment, what's the reasoning behind the person to say no? In effect, they're hurting themselves also because, this is free money and they're never ever going to see the other person again. So what incentive do they have to say no? Well, there's a part of us that many times, we just can't stand to have somebody else get more than what we get. And many times we will hurt ourselves in an attempt to hold other people back. It's kind of like another a story of if you're going hunting crabs, and if you put one crab in a bucket, you have to be careful because the crab will climb out and it will escape. But if you put two crabs in a bucket, then you don't have to worry about them escaping, because the moment the first crab starts to climb out, the second crab will pull the first one back. And in the end, neither of them can escape. And that's kind of going to the point here about your friends and family may even try to stop you. Your friends and family members can get used to us as we are, and they may say things without even knowing it that can discourage you. So they might remind you of all the other skills that you tried to learn. They might try to even convince you to do something else that they're interested in. But the main point of this is focus on what you need and go back to your reasons on why you want to learn electronics and stay true to that. Now, all of this is going to work together. Now, imagine you're trying to build a car and you leave out the wheels. So you're not going to be very successful you're not going to be very successful at electronics unless you understand all the topics that you need. You know, you need to understand the math. You need to understand the physics, the circuit analysis, and the analog and the digital theory as well. There's a lot to learn, but think of it like you're building a very complicated machine, and there's lots of parts. And you open it up and you spread all the parts out on the floor. Initially, it might look like there's a lot there, but you need all those parts, or the machine that you're building is just not going to work. It's the same thing with your education. So treat it like you're building a machine. All the parts have to be there. Now, a lot of times in school, what you're going to find is you learn topics one chapter at a time, and at the end of the chapter, when you're taking the test, all you really need are just the techniques that you learned in that chapter. And in the real world, you can make use of almost any technique or combine them to create a workable solution. So that's why you really need to learn all of these pieces together. So to review on these 8 secrets, the first thing is make sure that you're fully committed to learning electronics. Make sure that you take action. Write your action steps down in a place that you know you're going to come back to again. Realize that it does take time to learn electronics, and be very clear about why you want to learn it. Keep your goals in mind, and before you start a training session, make it a point to quickly review. Remember that the true outcome is not how much work you spend, but the actual skills that you gain. And learn the language. You know, a lot of times, especially maybe if we bring this back to actual language, if you're trying to learn a foreign language, many times we won't get the accent correctly, and it turns out that when you miss that, you might be able to talk and native speakers might be able to understand you, but you know, it's obvious that you're not a native speaker. So make sure that you learn the language of electronics. The next one is to learn from others, but don't get discouraged because somebody else seems to have more skills or to have an easier time. Remember that you know, whenever we're beginning something, everybody had to be a beginner at some time, even the experts. And the last one is that you really do need all the parts, just like as if you were building a machine, in order to be successful at electronics. So that is it. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a successful time learning electronics.